The title of this talk is The Face of Love. It's about seeing the divine in others. Douglas?
Douglas, put your mic away from the front of your mouth. Put it over on the side. Okay. A little bit further in, closer. There you go.
Well, thank you for being here. It means a lot to me to be able to share.
Just a little bit more.
It means a lot to me to be able to share with you one of my stories. When I think about the face of love, I think about seeing and identifying the divine in others. It feels very powerful. When I recognize the humanity in others and realize we share that sense of being as an individual and also in a group called humankind. I need to be reminded of this sometimes, especially when I feel like the stranger on the street is different than me. Sometimes I forget that they, everyone, share the same feelings, same struggles, same delight, same sense of wonder that I may feel. When they look through the windows of their soul, what do they see? I wonder. What do they think? What do they feel? What might they be thinking of me? This is where true empathy grows from. Understanding that you are no different than them. That they are as hard as it is to realize sometimes. Just like everyone else. Maybe John Lennon said it best. I am he as you are he. You are me, and we are all together. When I am consumed by my own stuff and have a hard time breaking out of myself, that is when I have less patience, less understanding, less compassion for someone else. It is then that I have a hard time seeing myself in others, seeing the divine, seeing the love, seeing the spirit in others. Like the poet Joe Henry wrote in the John Denver song, "The Wings That Fly Us Home." I know that love is seeing all the infinite in one. When I think about this experience of seeing the divine in others, I can't help but think of another song, Joan Osborne's "One of Us," written by Eric Bazillion. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Just trying to make his way home, just like a holy rolling stone. Back up to heaven all alone. Just trying to make his way back home. When I was 19, going to art school in Oregon, I flew to Wyoming for my best friend's wedding. After the wedding, I took a bus trip from Casper, Wyoming to Denver, Colorado. From Denver, I had arranged it to drive through the Rockies on the bus, having an adventure from Denver to Grand Junction. This was my first time through the Rockies. I would go from Grand Junction to Las Vegas to see my family for that spring break. And I had scheduled my Greyhound adventure so that I would cruise through the Rockies for the first time on that interstate during that day. Arriving in Grand Junction in the early evening. The Grand Junction bus depot was a small diner with neon and truck stop food. Upon having a short break and exchanging passengers, all strangers to each other, the bus filled. I was sitting 2 seats behind the driver when a man took the empty seat beside me on the aisle seat. We introduced ourselves, and he explained that he was on a mission from God. He shared with me he was given a spiritual message that he should go to Los Angeles now, and that it was important and he would change the world. He didn't know how or why. He had been driving a taxi cab during the night shift in Grand Junction for quite a while, and he explained that it was hard for him to sleep at night. This stranger next to me on the bus appeared quite elderly to me at the time, perhaps in his late 40s. Yeah. He had a full head of hair, dark hair, maybe a few gray hairs, and a few lines on the face starting to show. And he was neatly but casually dressed, perfectly appropriate for this bus ride. In my naivety, the driver didn't seem very interesting to me, the taxi driver, except that I felt he might have some mental problems. Being very serious and earnest about his mission from God. In my silence and head nodding, I was being skeptical and judgmental. Because I didn't understand his conviction, I dismissed him. I wrote him off as being a little wacky. I also got the feeling that he was harmless and a really nice person. It wasn't long before the darkness and the silence overcame the sleepy bus as we rolled down the southern Utah desert highway. Years later, I would drive through the same country many times in the daylight and learn that there were beautiful rock formations and deep ravines on both sides of the road. It was canyon country, and it was filled with lots of eroded sandstone and a variety of layered, colorful earth. With the drone of the highway and the hum of the quiet bus, I soon dozed off, sleeping soundly as best I could do while sitting upright in a bus seat, leaning against the window. Sometime in my post-dinner slumber, during the dark highway night, I was shaken awake by rocking and swaying of the bus in loud voices. Opening my eyes, I immediately noticed the seat next to me was empty. The agent of God was absent. I was startled that the bus was not going smoothly down the highway, but swaying back and forth in a great headlight glow. I saw the silhouette of a man standing beside the driver. The bus soon resumed a straighter, smoother course with the quieting of hysterics. I had identified the man standing in the gray next to the Greyhound driver as my seatmate, the taxi driver unaccustomed to sleeping at night. He turned and walked back to his seat next to me. I'm certain I had a puzzled and distressed look on my face. He spoke in a calm, soothing voice, sharing with me that the driver had fallen asleep and lost control of the bus. He was awake and noticed, jumped up, took control of the wheel, and woke the driver. Surely, if he had reacted a moment later, it would have been a different story and a tragic outcome. It took me years to realize the significance of this event. I have often wondered if this ordinary man sitting next to me, the taxi driver on a mission from God, realized that maybe, just maybe, his mission was accomplished by saving the lives of so many people on that Greyhound that night. I wondered what other adventures the stranger on the bus might have had in Los Angeles. I tried to pay attention to the news and notice if he showed up or was involved with anything newsworthy. If he was, I didn't notice it. Many years later, when I first heard Joan Osborne's recording of What If God Was One of Us, it meant something really personal to me. What if God was one of us? Just a slob like one of us. Just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home. Through the years, I've realized that when I'm judgmental, this blocked love. Being judgmental prevented the flow of possibilities of love. Being judgmental kept me from you, you from them, and them from us. This lack of empathy created more distance between us, between you and me and everyone. I've concluded that being judgmental is part of human nature, just as much as having empathy, love for others is part of human nature. It's also our nature to adjust our consciousness, to learn to be more aware of our feelings and our relationships, to be more conscious of our choices. As open-minded and open-hearted people, it is our job to be better at practicing love and compassion. The strangers on the bus are just like you, me, and us. If we are spirits having a human experience, and we are all infinite beings on individual journeys, living a life that explores and experiences love, isn't our responsibility to look in the face of the Spirit, to the face of love? That face can look like a clerk, a man in the next car, the countless people you may see every day, and the nameless people that count like a statistic in the news, the face of a friend or a stranger, and the face in the mirror. Sometimes that face is unrecognizable behind a mask. We put on every day a mask of despair, of deception, smiles and laughter, perceptions of attractiveness, of being familiar or foreign. Sometimes the other person puts the mask on, and sometimes we put the mask on others. It seems convenient to put others in categories, stereotyping them, putting them in a box that limits who they are. We know that feels unfair when others put us in their boxes. It diminishes our possibilities. It confines us to something less than we are. It can create a prejudice, an unfair attitude, and a bad behavior. Every day, I must make choices about how I see others. Everyone, this time, take a few deep, relaxed breaths. Let us take a moment and look at the person next to you. Know that her or his spirit is behind the eyes, that his heart feels so much like you do. Know that they are attempting to see the divine in you and not to limit that love you're capable of. Now turn to someone else and do the same thing. Know that that spirit is behind the eyes and they are so much like you are. Imagine practicing with those strangers on the bus. When I try to practice triggering myself. When I'm disconnected and I'm acting judgmental. When I start painting a picture picture of them with a negative brush and somber colors. These cue me to look for their possible perspectives, to walk a mile in their shoes. I attempt to be empathetic. I'm not suggesting that you like everything someone else does, or that you condone their behavior. I'm suggesting you consider treating others as you would like to be treated yourself. I'm suggesting to consider others as you would like to be treated yourself. This golden rule is a catalyst of foreseeing the divine in others, for creating an opportunity to be open to love and experiencing the face of love. The universal golden rule is about true empathy. I saw a quote on Facebook recently by Congressman Bill Bullard, and he said, "Opinion is really the lowest form of human knowledge. It requires no accountability, no understanding. The highest form of knowledge is empathy, for it requires us to suspend our egos and live in another's world." According to my thesaurus, it says, empathy is understanding, compassion, sympathy, responsiveness, identification, and fellow feeling. My dictionary defines empathy as an imaginative projection of one's own consciousness into another being. Imaginative projection of one's own consciousness into another being. Ironically, imaginative projection seems like it could be a kind of a personal judgment. Why not make it a projection that you would hope they would project onto you? I feel such great gratitude when I feel empathy. It helps me to feel my potential. It feels good and it feels true. I know when it's happening. It feels real good here. It is my work as a human to develop that empathetic vision and embrace compassion. This is being my best self, leaning toward the light, and shed the doubt and fear and see the best in others. I am he, as you are he, as you are me, and we are all together. All we can do is do our own part. All there is to do is think with our heart. Thank you for joining me on this journey. We are all on the same bus. Love one another as you would like to be loved yourself. And we can change the world.
It's a beautiful message, and also great examples of how many opportunities we have to do that every day, and how it's taking that moment to just realize that we have a choice in how we see and empathize with that person. Thank you for that reminder. We have another song.